Happy Thursday morning, everybody. Oh my God, the saga continues. We have a lot to cover as usual, so let's just jump right in there and get there, shall we? Let's go. We are starting off this morning with a tweet that was put up by Education Cannot Wait. There was a meeting between Yasmin Sheriff and the Duchess of Edinburgh. It was a meeting that had to do with a global fund for education in emergencies. And once again, Sophie talked about women's education and how important it is. Love it. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us Sophie's outfit. Everything was a rewear. Gorgeous. Moving on. Next up, another tweet came up from this gentleman. Very important. Apparently, Princess Anne officially opened a new charity. And what it is an air ambulance. So they bring care to patients that are in east of England and beyond, which I think is super important. So what Princess Anne did was she officially opened the new base at, let's see if I can say this, Alconbury Weld. Okay, you guys, really, I'm trying. I swear. I love her outfit, though. Very classy. All right, here we go. Moving on. All right, this just makes me love Edward even more. Apparently, there is a care home that has something called a wish tree. And this gentleman wished for a letter from the prince as part of their Wish Tree initiative. It's a project that encourages the residents to write down their wishes and hang them on the tree, hoping that somebody will fulfill them. So one of the staff members wrote to Prince Edward on behalf of the resident, and Prince Edward wrote back. Wonderful. You know, I'm trying not to get upset, but some of these wishes just broke my heart. One person simply wrote they wanted to walk around the area. Somebody else said they'd like to go for a nice meal and a glass of sherry. I mean, if I lived closer, I'd be like all over it. One person wrote, I'd like to be with my wife. Obviously, I'm too far away to do anything. But I'll tell you what, if there's anybody watching this that lives in that general area or could go to that general area, if you want to take one of these residents that's wishing to leave and just go out to a nice dinner, I'll pay for it. I will pay for the meal. Okay? Anybody who lives there. All right, moving on. All right, next up, I wanted to touch on this. This Twitter user put this up. Italy published a stamp in honor of Queen Elizabeth II, and it is the first time, except for former popes, that Italy has done a stamp for somebody who's not Italian. I love that. Thank you, Italy, and I'll be seeing you next month. Okay, now I have to touch on this because with all of these pictures of everybody going around in Range Rovers, I think it's important that you know that Meghan and Harry's Range Rover puts out double the CO2 that it's supposed to in California. Okay, so they took the car in early of 2023, right after the Spare was published. So obviously they took some of the $20 million that Harry got as an advance, and they bought the car with it. Now, California has stricter environmental laws than the rest of the United States, and they're about to have new guidelines. And we know that by 2026, that state is going to require that 35% of new passenger cars must produce zero emissions, okay? Now, let's not forget, Harry and Meghan have supposedly been advocates to help prevent climate change, and they both pledged that Archwell is going to have zero emissions by 2030, and they're telling everybody to do their part, okay? But they're not doing their part, because for the top of the range model, Range Rover, that starts at $154,200. And the running costs are very high. It's 30, they only gets like 30 miles per gallon, 20 less than California law says the car should be receiving. And while they're on both sides of the pond using these cars, I don't believe they're going to meet the zero emission goal that they set. Moving on. Now, a blind item came out about the In-N-Out Pap shot. Apparently, they thought it had been perfectly taken care of. They didn't think they were caught, but it turns out they were. And also, they had to ask that guy to move to the side for the picture. Neil Sean is reporting that Meghan is upset because, yes, it was a set-up pap shop, but she's upset because Backgrid forgot to Photoshop the photo before they printed it. Well, that's what happens when you try to do pap walks. All right, you guys, it started already. Meghan Markle was wearing $40,000 worth of clothing on that flight to Dusseldorf to meet up with Harry. The pants were like $590. The shoes, the Roman stud flats, were $770. Her sunglasses, $510. That hat, we've seen a gazillion times. Whatever. The tote was $2,000. The scarf was $1,200. I mean, but of course she had her Cartier love bracelet from Trevor and her tank watch. And again, just like what happened last time, all about the outfits. Now, I'm going to guess that maybe the freebies have stopped coming in because I'm looking at these shoes and I'm like, oh, those look so familiar. Where have I seen those before? Oh, yes. Meghan was wearing those back when she was lugging Archie to school. Remember, there was no backs on them and everybody was like, if you're pregnant, carrying a kid and all of this, how are you wearing those? But yes, those are the same shoes. So maybe the freebies have stopped already. Anyway, once again, she's going, and you can already tell what's going to happen here. It's going to be all about the clothing and the jewelry, and this is why she shouldn't have gone. Like, seriously. And so now we're getting articles like this because they want to put the Queen's name with Meghan Markle. Remember, the royal family is their currency. So she made a nod to the Queen because she had a scarf in her bag. A 1,000-pound scarf. I'd be darned. That could feed my family for 2 months. I'm telling you what. The scarf, which has two brindles side by side, was apparently worn by the Queen previously. She had this scarf in various different colors, and she wore it at her Diamond Jubilee in 2012 and at the Royal Windsor Horse Show in 1982. And hers was navy and Meghan's is gray. But because Meghan has the same scarf, somehow it's a nod to the Queen. It has something to do with the Queen. You guys get it. Moving on. All right, here we go. Meghan landed in Dusseldorf. Now, what they're claiming is that she flew overnight from Los Angeles to Heathrow and then got a connecting British Airways plane to Dusseldorf. That does not mean that she didn't take a private jet from LA to Heathrow. She very well could have. I personally think she probably did. Anyway, she was only in the UK for 2 hours. Anyway, she arrives in Germany. She went to a VIP terminal. She gets into another gas-guzzling, bulletproof, whatever, SUV. Her bodyguard got in the front, and she was driven to this hotel where they're staying in this $2,000-3,000 a night hotel where apparently the German taxpayer is paying for that. It would appear that the military is paying for that. Interesting. Now, they went to a reception for friends and families of competitors. Now, apparently no details were being released about the event, but it was supposed to be very informal with some children also attending. Now, this is where I think things start to get a little bit interesting. It's almost like Germany, almost like God didn't want her there, because that night there was a severe weather warning in place for Dusseldorf with heavy rain and thunderstorms. And so they were telling people to avoid the outside areas of the Invictus Game park. It was like God was saying, don't bring her here, don't bring her here, don't bring her here. Well, as it turns out, the papers in Germany have not been very complimentary towards Meghan at all. I was really shocked. This particular article right here, here's the translation for you. It says, Harry looks annoyed. While Meghan chatted with guests in a good mood, Harry seemed annoyed and tired. Hopefully his mood will improve. Not that Meghan regrets the long journey. My God. All right. Then you had this second paper that showed up. And the translation of this is, This is where Meghan lands in Dusseldorf. And then below that, in small letters, it says, but in the evening, the prince already seems annoyed. You know, as is typical, the venue for the meeting that night, for the casual get-together, was a guarded secret with people being bussed in on a fleet of coaches. Now, this is where you stop and go, oh my God. So here's the picture that everybody was looking at. And I'm going to pick this apart like crap. First of all, Harry's sour face has returned. The second Meghan shows up, he goes from what you see on the left to what you see on the right. It didn't take very long at all, did it? You know, I have to tell you, first of all, I completely agree with according to Taz. She immediately took the microphone and she turned the entire thing into Mimi again. She started making word salad speeches talking about, I had to go buy milkshakes and I had to get the little ones, the babies, off to school and do the school run before I left for Germany. Her children are probably homeschooled is what I believe, because had they been in regular school, some picture somewhere would have leaked. And look at Harry's face here. Doesn't he just look happy? Let me zoom in for you. She's giving this word salad speech, and he just stands there looking absolutely stunned. It's like he realizes he was having such a good time until she showed up and started spewing whatever the heck it is that she's spewing. Now, I cannot play the video for you because it would be a copyright infringement, but there is a video, and in the video, she was booed by a few people. You could very clearly hear it. So after she's done giving her word salad speech in her shirt, which is, of course, unbuttoned down to her navel as usual, she turns around to hand the mic back to Harry, who, by the way, is clapping, trying to get the audience to be happy for her. And then she tries to get the audience worked up for him, but it really wasn't working very well. Like, seriously, it was kind of sad and pathetic towards the end. So here's some video snippets. Just watch Harry's face. Here you go. By the way, also, in case you didn't notice it, she's wearing her blood diamond pinky ring. And of course, we know now that she stood up in front of war veterans who have lost limbs and complained that she was having to do her own hair and makeup. Yep. I mean, guys, her speech was a joke. I was late because I had to pick up milkshakes and get the kids to school. First of all, Lilibet's not in school, and I really have a sneaking suspicion that Archie is homeschooled, which is why he's never been papped at school. Tom Bauer was on TV again with Dan Wooten. You know how I love GB News. He had some very interesting things to say, so you guys listen to this.
Exclusive information on what you think Meghan's next move is.
Well, my view is that she is writing her memoirs and that the rest of this...
Oh, no.
It'll be a huge money.
Now, interesting that he said that because the Royal Rogue put this up saying that the In and Out is Meghan's working title for her memoir about her time in the royal family. Maybe that's meant to be parody, but you got to say that would be an interesting title for her book, don't you think? All right, let's move on and continue on.
And all this, what we've seen this last week, is absolute media manipulation of the most extraordinary kind. First of all, this dancing at the Beyoncé concert which was clearly all set up to film her hugging Harry. That was all phony. And then Harry knocking the media for not being nice to the Afghan victims, which was completely untrue. Harry's outrageous entry to the St. George's Chapel just when the Cambridges were doing their service for remembrance of the late Queen. There was Harry doing really good stuff with the Invictus Games, but playing on these poor victims of war. And for her, Meghan, to pretend that she was late because she had to give her children milkshakes was just ludicrous. I mean, this is a woman who talked tonight about the importance of family. The importance of family. From Meghan Markle, who did her best to destroy the royal family, who ignores her own father, who talks about we've got to look after victims and leaves her father in Mexico with a stroke and doesn't visit him, and talks about family values. These are two real imposters. And what is really annoying is that we shouldn't have to in any way admire what they're doing in Düsseldorf. Because they have wrecked with all their lies. The lies on Oprah Winfrey, the lies in Spare, the lies that Harry said in his interviews about his father and his brother.
The Invictus Games.
Well, we should give the Invictus in because the participants and the idea was brilliant. And it is being run very, very well, not by Harry, but by the administrators. And it is terrific for the contestants. I'm all for that. But the Sussexes are using it for their own promotion. They're desperate. What's interesting is they haven't got a platform anymore. No magazine is going to interview Meghan Markle anymore. Spotify and Netflix are not going to commission them to do more reports. So they're desperate for somehow to be seen. And they're using the Invictus Games as their platform for promotion.
Now, I'm just going to throw this out there because I think it's very important for people to know that Harry went into a tent called Team Respect, okay? This is an area where competitors go to relax away from the events. And what you find out is that the marquee is operated by the German military, which organized the games, and there were German soldiers there. This is why there are protests going on, because people feel like they're using it to get people to go into the German army, and they are. Pictures started trickling out from this private event, like this picture. I really didn't know what to make of this. Meghan's face seems unnatural. Then you zoom in and you realize that the woman in the wheelchair has a grip on Meghan's wrist. Look at her fingers. She does not look happy. That's like the claw. You guys know what I'm saying. And then you look at her face. Her jaw is clenched as tight as it could be. I don't think she likes the fact that this woman is touching her, my opinion. Now, some other pictures came out that were obviously pretty staged. I mean, give me a break. And then you remember this picture with her face in the drive-thru? Well, look at this picture. That absolutely is her face. That is not photoshopped, okay? We've seen pictures like this before. We saw this at Invictus last year. But take a look at this picture again. For some reason, Meghan likes to leave her shirts unbuttoned so low that everybody can see her cleavage. I think she thinks that that's sexy somehow. She doesn't really have any cleavage to be showing, but it would be nice, at least for the Invictus Games, if she buttoned up her shirt instead of trying to show people cleavage that she doesn't have. Now, knowing that this is her regular thing that she does, I started looking at the regular thing that Harry does. Harry plays with his wedding ring, like here when he was unhappy. Or remember when he went to the Diana unveiling, as he was walking around the corner with William, he was playing with his ring. When he was being forced to talk to William, and when they were walking to go see the gardener, he could not take his hand off of his wedding ring. How about this at Nelson Mandela Day, when he was playing with his ring? Well, anyway, the point is, here he is during her speech, playing with his ring again. And just as an FYI, Harry didn't play with his ring the whole first 3 days that Meghan wasn't there. Now, a couple more items I want to cover. Do you guys remember yesterday I told you that there was a poll that the public want Eugenie and Beatrice and Andrew and Harry removed from the line of succession? And I thought, why are they doing this? I mean, I was wondering what was going on. Well, this just popped up. Well, according to Lady C, people at the palace are noticing which way the wind is blowing. In other words, Eugenie and Beatrice have been leaking, and they better put a stop to it fast. Now, Lady C came out and said the media was working really hard to cover up for the lack of interest in the Invictus Games. I already showed you the pictures. The stands are not full. There's not a lot of spectators. You simply have the people that are competing and their families. That's all you have. The Germans were not happy with Meghan's comment about the Nigerian thing, the color card. But of course, Meghan had to hug somebody from Nigeria and claim, "You're my Nigerian sister," and gave her a big hug. I mean, this woman could not read the room if she tried. Like, seriously. I imagine it went down as well as Harry saying he hung up his uniform. Question is, which uniform? All right, guys. You know what to do. Make 'em good.